I would like to start from what the chairman said before, that this is a very crucial period. And it's a very crucial period for several reasons. One of them is the obvious Arab Spring or Arab awakening that have stirred things up. But you know, the times of transition are also dangerous times, because when there is a transition, the powers of reaction and the colonization try to recoup and act in a rather, dangerous way. But besides this, there is the special situation in regard to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is, I think, coming to a head and may give rise to a particularly dangerous juncture. What I'm referring to is the end of the road of the so-called two-state solution. You all know about this so-called solution that has been apparently, or so we are led to believe, being negotiated for about 20 years. Actually, this is all smoke and mirrors. In fact, the reality is quite different. What is proposed and what is backed by most of the so-called international community as a two-state solution is really a very asymmetric, very unequal kind of arrangement, whereby you have not really two states with equal resources, equal territory, etc., but one state and a quarter. Nothing really, to solve the long-lasting conflict that started about 100 years ago, which is a conflict of colonization, conflict between Zionist colonization and the indigenous people of that area. But even though the so-called two-state solution is not really going to resolve the Palestinian problem, even this mutilated so-called Palestinian state has been consistently opposed by all major Israeli parties. And that is something that is important to understand, because what you get from the mass media is a very different impression. It's as though Israel has agreed in principle to a two-state, mutilated Palestinian state as it is, but with some kind of sovereignty. Well, this is very far from the truth. In fact, I found an article that I wrote together with a comrade embarrassingly long ago, in 1976, and there I point out that the decisive majority of the Zionist leadership, both in the government and in the right-wing opposition, is resolutely opposed, as a matter of fundamental principle, to the establishment of any kind of independent Palestinian state. And in this connection, we quoted a well-known Israeli leader who was unusually frank. He was a political leader, but he originated from the army, was a military man, and as military men sometimes do, he spoke in a straightforward way without trying to disguise. And I'm referring, of course, to General Moshe Dayan. And this is what he said, quoted in Haaretz of 12th of December 1975. Fundamentally, a Palestinian state is an antithesis of the state of Israel. The basic and naked truth is that there is no fundamental difference between the relation of the Arabs of Nablus, which is in the West Bank, to Nablus, and that of the Arabs of Jaffa to Jaffa. Jaffa is inside Israel in the pre-67 border. And today, if we set out on this road and say that the Palestinians are entitled to their own state because they are natives of the same country, and have the same rights, then it will not end with the West Bank. The West Bank, together with the Gaza Strip, do not amount to a state. The establishment of such a Palestinian state would lay a cornerstone to something else, either the state of Israel or a Palestinian state. So the way he put it is very clear. He is saying that, I mean, it's not really a question of how big it is. Even a small, measly Palestinian state is fundamentally opposed to the existence of the state of Israel as he sees it. Now, you might think, okay, I mean, this is Dayan, but I mean, we all know that Israel signed the so-called Oslo Agreement. It was negotiated in the early 90s. It was signed in 1993, and it agreed to a Palestinian state there. And wasn't Yitzhak Rabin assassinated because he signed that agreement and agreed to a Palestinian state? Well, if you think so, you'd be mistaken. A lot of people think so. But this is actually a mistake. There is no mention of a Palestinian state in the Oslo Agreement. And when Rabin, I mean, I'm now quoting from Rabin's last speech in the Knesset, 1 month before he was assassinated. And this is what he said. We view the permanent solution in the framework of the state of Israel, which will include most of the area of the land of Israel as it was under the rule of the British Mandate, and alongside a Palestinian entity which will be a home to most of the Palestinian residents living in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. We would like this to be an entity which is less than a state, and which will be independently run, and which will independently run the lives of the Palestinians under its authority and so on. So he's stating very clearly, this is the speech in which he put to the Knesset the motion to ratify the Oslo Agreement. And for this he was assassinated. Even this was a bit too much for the extreme right-wingers, which are, you know, closer to the present government. So this will help you to understand why Israel, backed by the United States, was so adamantly opposed to the attempt of the Palestinian Authority to get membership of the United Nations. Although this would change nothing on the ground, it wouldn't change the real situation. Although it would be a mere gesture, even that was, from the Israeli mainstream Zionist point of view, a dangerous step, because it would give theoretical legitimacy to something that they totally reject. Any kind of Palestinian statehood, even in a very reduced and mutilated form. So you have, on the one hand, the so-called two-state solution, which is not really a solution, but even in this form, it is rejected by the vast majority of the Israeli Zionist leaders. So this has now come to a head. The 20 years of negotiations about nothing have produced nothing for the Palestinians except further colonization. Israel actually used this process, the so-called peace process, as a way of buying time for further colonization of the West Bank. I think this situation has meant that the so-called imaginary and inadequate so-called two-state solution has come to the end of the road, and I think, you know, nobody is going to believe in it anymore, given the position of Israel and the United States, and given the situation on the ground where the best lands that would have gone to such a state are colonized by Israeli settlers. So what is the alternative? the Israeli leadership is opposed to a Palestinian state of any shape or form, but it is even more opposed to having a common state, a one-state solution, so-called, in which both Israeli Jews and Palestinian Arabs will be citizens. This is even worse from the Zionist point of view. So, you'd have thought, if the latter is anathema to them, why don't they at least, cut their losses and compromise on the former, on the two-state solution? But they don't. I mean, you could see it in the United Nations, and there is no other reason for their adamant opposition to this UN membership. The answer is that they have a third option in mind. And this is where we come to the real danger. The wet dream of all major Zionist parties is further ethnic cleansing. And this is what is on the cards. This is what the real danger is. Of course, this would require, I mean, they couldn't do it tomorrow just out of the blue. This would require what in Zionist parlance is known as She'at HaKosher, which means, I'm translated into English, the opportune moment. This is something that could be done under, extreme conditions of war in the Middle East. Now, war in the Middle East is not something that is far away. At any given moment, there is a danger of such a war. But at the moment, the present moment, you could see rumblings of war in the area. If you watch what is happening in the United States, if you follow all these threatening speeches and so on, there is a very real danger of a conflagration in the general area of the Middle East, possibly involving Iran and other countries in the Middle East. And in this situation, it would be possible for the Israeli government to try to perpetrate a further major ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians, mainly from the West Bank. This means that it is vital for people of goodwill, for international public opinion, and especially for the workers' movement everywhere, to mobilize in order to make such a thing impossible, to be on guard and to be watchful, to be in solidarity with the Palestinian people, especially the trade union movement in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and to show that public opinion, progressive public opinion, will not allow any such move that the Israeli leadership is dreaming about. So this is where we come to the topicality of what we are discussing tonight. I would like to end by saying the Histadrut is an arm of the Zionist movement, has always been one, and it is wrong to sustain fraternal relation with the Histadrut. I would suggest considering forging ties with a new alternative trade union organization in Israel. I don't know too much about it, but by following its recent actions, it's a new setup called in Hebrew Koach La'ovdim, which translated into English means power to the workers. The word power in this connection is not power as in political power, but more like horsepower or electric power, force. Workers' force would be a better translation. It organizes both Israeli Jews and Palestinian Arab citizens of Israel. It is militant, and it is an alternative organization to the Histadrut. I would suggest, checking the situation, just finding out more about it, and it may be a good idea to forge a fraternal relation with this organization. I'm not saying, I'm not putting it as a specific finished proposal, but as an idea that is worth considering. So thank you very much.